Hundreds of South Africans take to the social media on the NDLOVU serial murder case in the country as she is being accused of allegedly killing 5 members of her family so as to benefit of their insurance claims. Also coming up this news are FILSAN AHMED, Ethiopia's Minister of Women, Children and Youth, resigns from office, saying the happenings in the country are against her faith and ethics. Those were our top stories. The details right ahead. Hello and thanks for joining us on this other new edition of Newsroom. You are watching Dash News. The President of the Central African Republic, President Faustin Archange Touadéra, visited Cameroon very early this morning. He was received by Prime Minister Joseph Dion Goutté at the Yaoundé-Simalène International Airport at 5:20 a.m. The Honours Brigade from the presidency was equally deployed to receive him. President Touadéra landed on an Air France flight from Europe and stopped in Cameroon to acknowledge his country's consular officials. In the country, both state officials had a moment to discuss some issues concerning both countries. The Central African Republic leader is currently en route to Bangui. On to something else now. Ethiopia's Minister of Women, Children and Youth, FILSAN AHMED, has resigned from office. According to her, the international and national issues in the country are against her faith and ethics. Premier Agbo.
Ethiopia's Minister of Women, Children and Youth, FILSAN AHMED, dropped her resignation letter with reasons of a personal nature that weighs heavily on her personal conscience. According to her, any situation that compromises her ethics is contrary to her convictions and values, and moreover, betraying this belief is a breach of trust to herself and citizens of Ethiopia. She equally added that she took the decision after discussing national and international issues with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. FILSAN Abdullahi Ahmed, appointed March 12, 2020, being the youngest in the government, was the brain behind the NABAD project and satellite television station for promoting communication and peace in Somali region and between the Somali and Oromo communities. The resignation comes ahead of a reported cabinet reshuffle by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in hand with the Tigray conflict and pressure from international bodies. The Ethiopian Prime Minister has been facing international pressure over the war in the northern Tigray region. However, resigned minister expressed gratitude towards the Ethiopian government for the opportunity granted.
JUNTA has described the suspension of his copyright by the Cameroon Musical Arts Corporation, SONACAM, as void. The Cameroonian musical veteran was suspended alongside Ledoux Marcelin for what he is seen as ethical breaches, but were given different penalties. Ponje has more.
Committee of the National Musical Arts Corporation, SONACAM, met recently. It decided to take a drastic decision. The committee stripped veteran musician JUNTA of his post as chairman of the ad hoc committee for the fight against piracy in the littoral region and suspended his copyrights for a period of 1 year. At the heart of his case are allegations of insulting Bridget Fomenji. According to the ethics department, he failed to respect summons before the committee. Dash News reached out to JUNTA to get his reaction to this sanction. He responded in a WhatsApp message saying the suspension is empty.
No one has the power to prevent an artist from receiving his dues in the world, so this suspension is void.
The Ethics Committee equally slammed artist Marcelin Ledoux a 3-year suspension, which also includes his copyrights, for allegedly insulting the head of SONACAM, Dr. Ate Bazor. The move is seen as an attempt to strengthen discipline in the musical arts sector.
We now move to South Africa. As earlier announced on our top story, social media has been very active since the start of the NDLOVU serial murder case in South Africa. This is a case of a policewoman who is accused of allegedly killing 5 members of her family as well as her boyfriend so as to benefit of their insurance claims. The case has been in court since the start of the month and different people have had a lot to say in her regard. Details with Bibiana Shinitamvuma.
Rosemary NDLOVU has tilted the attention of social media users in South Africa towards herself. She has brought so much drama and controversy during her court case, which only started this September. While some think she's changing the narrative of South Africa's judicial system, others on their part look at her as a psychopath, making fun of the system in its entirety. Between 2012 and 2017, Rosemary NDLOVU is alleged to have killed her sister, a niece and nephew, her cousin, a boyfriend, and another relative. Allegations she has blatantly denied in court. Further investigations show that she might have hired the services of a hitman to wipe out her cousin's family after luring them to sleep through a drug, but he couldn't upon finding out there was a 5-month-old baby involved. Claims further have it that he was meant to set the house ablaze, but he turned down the job. Her mother is also said to have been a victim of her blood hunt, but the hitman she hired for the job developed a cold feet after her mother welcomed him with so much warmth. Rosemary NDLOVU is said to have made over 1.4 million rands, an approximation of $93,000 from cashing the life and burial insurance of her victims, but these claims she has denied in court.
We now move to Chad military reform. The Chadian government has decided to reconstruct its security base after a vote of National Assembly meant to increase the number of military men in the country. This, according to Chadian Minister of Defense, is meant to reinforce security in parts of the country faced with attacks from rebel groups. Primera Agbo.
Chadian government has decided to reconstruct its security base after a vote of National Assembly meant to increase the number of military men to combat in the affected regions. Amongst many others, the government has decided to increase come 2022 its military personnel from 35 to 60,000 men. This comes at a period where Chad faces lots of security issues within its borders and internally. This increase is meant to fight back against some rebel groups like the FACT rebel group, DDR rebel group, and jihadist terrorism. According to Chadian Minister of Defense, General Daoud Yahya Ibrahim, who reported that till date Chadian soldiers have received more of a forfeit, but with this new reform, they will enjoy a more consistent pay and at the same time, an equal grade. The evolution of ranks and carriers' pensions, their entire trajectory will now be regulated. He equally added that over 10,000 men are being trained from all sections of society, noting that the financing of all these reforms, when the state coffers are empty, Chad will be able to count on the support of its partners.
You're watching Newsroom on Dash News. We now move to Nigeria, where governors of the 19 states in the country have described a proposal by their peers in the south to zone over the presidency in 2023 as unconstitutional. Meeting in Kaduna, they insist that the choice of Nigeria's next president will be decided by the people and not political arrangements. Peter Sosie with the details.
For weeks now, some northern governors in Nigeria had backed their southern counterparts, expressing views for a power shift to 3 geopolitical zones in the south in 2023. But after a crucial conclave in Kaduna Monday, the 19 governors of the Northern States Governors Forum collectively rubbished the suggestion to zone the presidency to the south. To them, the move is anti-constitutional.
It's quite contradictory with the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, that the elected president shall A. score the majority vote, B. score at least 25% of the votes cast in 2/3 states of the Federation, C. in the case of run-up, simple majority will win the election.
Traditional rulers of the northern regions of Nigeria are also unanimous with the decision. To them, the choice of the country's president will be hinged on who can meet the aspirations of all and sundry.
Very many problems we are facing. Besides insecurity, there is poverty. Besides poverty, there is lack of basic education. Besides lack of basic education, there is a lot of drug abuse among the youth.
The chairman of the Southern Governors Forum and governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, in a swift reaction, says that the governor should not be grudged for kicking against power shift to the south in 2023. He believes that the governors have a right to their decision. Northern governors insist that the choice of the next president lies in the hands of Nigerians and not greedy politicians. Elections in Nigeria have often been played on the North-South divide, though the constitution does not make provisions for this.
The military junta in Guinea-Conakry has released a transitional charter that will steer the country's transition. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya was maintained as president, while a transitional council will also set up. More with Pondier.
After several weeks of consultation with national and international actors, Guinea's military junta has finally set the framework for the transition. On Monday, they released the Transitional Charter, which introduced the Transitional Council. The Council will act like Parliament for the duration of the transition, and it will decide the duration of the transitional process into civilian rule. It is composed of 81 members drawn from the political, civil society, business class, among other actors. The organ will have a president, 2 vice presidents, and a 30% female representation. Without surprise, at the head of the transition will be Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who will act as president, and there will be a civilian prime minister to head the government. When it's time for elections to bring the country back to civilian rule, the charter says no member of the military junta will be allowed to run. Guineans now wait to see if this will be respected to the letter when the time comes.
Well, that brings us to the end of this newscast. Stay with Dash News and follow me on Twitter for more interesting stories.
Are you searching for an empirical, balanced and reliable news outfit with a template of the finest sports and entertainment? Is investigative and objective reporting a quest on your daily news request?
Action!
Are you interested in the latest on the track and fields, blockbusters, and the most up-to-date series from across Africa and the rest of the world? Dash News and Dash Sports and Entertainment are definitely your primetime news, sports, and entertainment hub.